still Duchess of Cornwall. And the two of them didn't want to land on the lawn of Balmoral. It was a way to disturb the Queen, so they flew to Burghall, which is their house on the estate. And it was so last minute that there wasn't even the official cars weren't there to sort of meet them. So he could borrow a Land Rover off one of the estate staff and drove over to the castle and had very precious, and in retrospect, thank God he did, he had those precious hours with the Queen that morning. And then thought, well, I'm going to leave it a rest, and went back to Burghall and was picking mushrooms in the grounds. He doesn't eat lunch, by the way, so he didn't have lunch. But he liked picking mushrooms, particularly at this time of year. And suddenly the call came through, you need to get back to the castle right now. Things have taken a turn for the worse. And so he jumped back in the Land Rover with the Duchess, and they were driving back. It was about a 20-minute drive across the estate. And he got about halfway, and one of the staff in the back of the Land Rover, their phone was ringing. They could see it was the palace switchboard. And answered it, handed the phone to the private secretary, who said, "Sir, you need to stop the car." That's the moment, handed the phone, and that was the first time he heard himself addressed as Your Majesty. And that was the now late Queen's private secretary, Sir Edward Young, who had been preparing for this moment for years. It's a formality of informing the new monarch, you are the monarch. And then there are always two questions the private secretary asks, which is, can I ask by which name you intend to reign, Charles, and can I have your permission to call the Prime Minister? So that's what happened. It happened right there on the side of the single unmarked estate road in the woods of Balmoral. I think that's rather wonderful that that's where it happened, because when you alluded earlier to the death of George VI, Princess Elizabeth famously went up a tree that night on February 5th, 52, in this giant fig tree at Aberdeen National Park in Kenya, at a place called Treetops, and it was there that she became Queen. And for someone whose entire life was her great work as far as she was concerned, was the Commonwealth, I thought it was something wonderfully appropriate that she had become Queen in the heart of the Commonwealth. And I think it was great small detail. A lot of the household staff, who are veterans of all sorts of royal events over the years, but what got a lot of them, what produced them to tears, was they flew back into London with the Queen's coffin, and they were coming along the A40, and just seen this extraordinary crowd. I mean, it was sort of rush hour